You do not beat the market by being tougher for a few seconds. You win by making discipline boring, visible, and repeatable. Right now, your brain chases motion and flinches at uncertainty. That is biology, not weakness. A pro removes the debate before it starts. 1% risk or less. Pre-planned exits. A checklist that blocks revenge and FOMO. Screen recorded so memory cannot lie. Today, you shift from hoping to operating. We will build a simple loop you can run every session. Define one good trade. Execute it with rules. Review the video. Raise your process score by 1 point. Repeat until the story you trade from changes. This is where we start with the mirror principle. Every trade you place is a reflection of the state you are in when you click. If your chest is tight and your thoughts are racing, the chart becomes a canvas for fear. If you are chasing the feeling of being right, the same setup becomes a stage for ego. The market is not breaking you. It is simply showing you what is already active inside you. That is good news because it means the edge you can control is your ability to notice, pause, and choose before you act. Here is the idea most traders miss. You do not fix bad outcomes by searching for a better entry pattern. You fix them by interrupting the impulse that hijacks your hands. 10 seconds of awareness can change the next 10 minutes of trading. When you learn to observe the emotion, name it, and allow it to cool, you change the trade you are about to take and the story you will tell yourself later. Here is the protocol in plain steps expressed as natural speech.
Before the session begins, write a single sentence that names the emotion you are most likely to feel today and how it shows up in your body. At the open, tag your nervous system state as green, yellow, or red. If you feel yellow or red, you will not take the first move in the first 5 minutes. Each time you prepare an order, pause for 10 seconds, breathe slowly, and ask one question. What emotion is pushing my hand? If the answer is fear, revenge, or hurry, you reduce size to half or you pass the trade. You record your screen so later you cannot edit the memory. You track the mirror with simple metrics written in words. You record the percentage of trades where you tagged your state before entry, the percentage of trades with a pre-planned exit, and a daily process score from 0 to 10. Over a sample of at least 10 trades, you review the video and write one sentence that explains the emotion that actually triggered each losing entry. To see this in action, imagine you watch price sprint and your pulse surges. You feel the urge to chase, you pause, you breathe, you name it as fear of missing out. You pass the first thrust and instead plan the pullback with defined risk. The loss you did not take becomes part of your new identity. Now we turn to the practice that stabilizes this awareness. One good trade, defined clearly, executed cleanly, and reviewed honestly. One good trade means you stop trying to win the day and start trying to win the next decision. You define a single trade quality that you can execute regardless of the last outcome. You decide the risk for that trade before you look at price, and you keep it at 1% or less. You decide the exit conditions and you write them in plain words before you click. You decide a checklist that must be true before you place the order. When those items are not present, you simply pass. You are no longer chasing being right. You are doing your job for one decision and then you will do your job again. Most traders miss the simple math of process. If you take random trades, you get random outcomes, and your mood follows the last candle. If you take only one good trade repeated over time, you remove the noise and let small edges add up. You reward yourself for honoring criteria, not for a win that might be luck. You build a brain that trusts rules because the rules are what you celebrate. Here is how to run one good trade in practice using plain speech. Before the session, choose one setup you know well. Write its market context, entry trigger, invalidation line, and target condition in one tight paragraph. Decide size from your account and cap the loss at 1%. Prepare a short pre-flight check. Ask if the context is present, if the trigger is active, and if the risk to reward is acceptable. If any item is missing, you do not trade yet. When the trade is on, you do not move the stop away from risk. You only move it to reduce risk when your plan says so. When the exit condition arrives, you exit, even if your feelings want more. You track this with simple measures that fit on one line. You record the percentage of trades taken that met every checklist item. You track the percentage of trades with a written exit before entry. You log your daily process score from 0 to 10 with a brief note on why the number is deserved. You review a sample of at least 10 trades to judge your edge rather than reacting to one dramatic outcome. Common failure modes are easy to name and hard to resist. You add size to get even. You widen the stop because the loss feels unfair. You abandon the plan when price wiggles. The fix is to pre-commit to size and exits, to pass when criteria are not met, and to review the video so your memory cannot argue. Next, we add an external mirror so discipline is not a private promise but a public reality. Accountability makes discipline real because it takes your promises out of your head and puts them in the open. When you trade alone, your brain edits memories to protect your ego. When you add recording and another set of eyes, you face what actually happened, not what you wish happened. Think of it as building a simple mirror outside yourself. The mirror shows your entries, your exits, your hesitation, your revenge, your rules honored, and your rules ignored. The mirror is not there to shame you. It is there to shorten the distance between your intention and your behavior. Here is the part most traders overlook. They think accountability is a motivational trick. It is actually a precision tool. If you record your screen and narrate your decisions in real time, you capture the exact trigger that moved your hand. If you send a 5-minute review clip to a partner on Sunday, you create a rhythm that keeps you honest.
If you meet once a week and each of you must show one mistake and one improvement, you turn learning into a habit that compounds. Run this in plain steps spoken as if you were coaching yourself. You start the platform and you turn on screen recording before the open. You test your mic and speak your plan out loud, including risk, entry trigger, and exit plan. Before every order, you tag your state as green, yellow, or red so the recording keeps your context. After the session, you trim a short clip that shows one good trade and one rule break. You send that clip to your partner with a one-line note on what you will change tomorrow. On Sunday, you watch the week and write 3 lines. What worked, what failed, what rule is getting upgraded. Measure your accountability with simple words you can track. Number of recorded sessions this week. Percentage of trades narrated before entry. Number of Sunday reviews completed this month. Count of rule breaks per 10 trades and the trend over 4 weeks. You are not chasing perfection. You are proving consistency. Imagine a day where you feel the urge to add size to get even. You hear your own voice in the recording saying, "Risk is capped at 1%. You stop yourself because you know the clip will be reviewed. The trade you do not take preserves the account and your identity as a professional. With the external mirror in place, the next step is to build the inner identity that your behavior can rely on even when nobody is watching. Identity architecture means you stop waiting for discipline to appear and you start building the kind of trader who shows up on command. Results follow identity. If you see yourself as a hopeful gambler, you will hunt for miracle candles. If you see yourself as a professional risk manager, you will trade plans and accept small losses as the cost of doing business. The chart does not change between those two people, you. Here is the idea most traders miss. Identity is not a slogan you repeat. It is a set of tiny behaviors that line up with a clear self-image. You design the image, you script the behaviors, and you practice them until your nervous system recognizes the role as home. When your feelings surge, the role holds you in place. Here is the protocol in plain speech. You write a trading identity statement in 1 paragraph. It names your role, your values, your non-negotiable rules, and the tone you will bring to the screen. You choose 3 behavioral triggers that express that identity. For example, you speak your risk cap out loud before every order. You place the stop the moment you enter. You log the nervous system color on the recording before you click. You add a daily identity audit each evening. In 3 lines, you answer what actions matched your role, what actions broke character, and what you will do differently tomorrow. You design 2 environmental cues, a short card near the monitor with your role sentence, a timer that chimes every 30 minutes to breathe and reset your posture. You practice a morning 2-minute rehearsal where you read the identity statement slowly and visualize acting it during the first move of the day. You track identity with words you can count. Days this week you completed the rehearsal. Percentage of trades where you spoke risk and placed the stop immediately. A daily integrity score from 0 to 10 with a short reason. Over a month, you review your clips and write 1 page on how often you stayed in character during stress. Watch a simple scenario. The open rips and your chest tightens. The old you lunges. The new you hears the roll line, "I am a risk manager, not a chaser." You tag yellow, speak the risk cap, and wait for your setup. You take the planned entry with the stop in place. The first pullback does not shake you because the roll expects it. Common failure is treating identity like theatrics or making it so rigid you cannot adapt. The fix is to anchor it in behaviors and kindness without indulgence. With the person established, we now give that person a concrete playbook to run. A playbook makes discipline visible. Instead of roaming for action, you run a small set of defined setups the way an athlete runs practice plays. Depth beats breadth. You pick a few situations you understand and you learn them in layers until your actions are nearly automatic. You remove improvisation at the dangerous moments and you leave creativity for research after the close. Here is the idea many traders miss. A setup is not an entry picture. It is a complete scenario with market context, timing, risk lines, management rules, and the psychology you expect to feel. You learn it in 4 dimensions. You define the directional bias that must be present. You describe the context such as higher timeframe trend, key levels, and volatility. You specify timing windows when the edge is strongest. You name the psychological variations that tend to appear so you can plan your responses in advance. Here is the protocol in plain speech.
Choose 2 setups you already trade. For each one, write a 1-page play that includes context, trigger, invalidation, target condition, risk size, add rules, partial exit rules, and full exit rules. Paste 3 screenshots of ideal examples and 3 of traps to avoid. Write 1 short paragraph on the emotions the setup triggers in you and the phrases you will say to yourself when those emotions rise. Before each session, read the page for the setup you intend to trade and decide you will pass on any trade that does not match it. After the session, paste 1 screenshot into the page with 2 sentences on what matched and what slipped. You track the playbook with simple measures. Count the number of trades taken that matched a documented play, the percentage of plays reviewed before the open, and the percentage of trades where entries and exits followed the written rules. Keep a weekly note on how quickly you recognize the setup in real time and whether you hesitated or chased outside the rules. Picture a morning where the market opens inside yesterday's range and then breaks above the prior high on rising volume. Your play calls for a pullback to the breakout area with a tight stop under the level and a first target at the next liquidity shelf. You feel a surge to chase the first push, but the playbook tells you to wait. You wait, you see the pullback, you enter with size set at 1% risk, and you manage exits as written. The plan absorbs the noise. Common failure modes are adding new plays every week and bending rules to fit whatever is moving. The fix is to cap active plays, review them daily, and upgrade 1 rule at a time. With plays defined, we now build the review loop that turns experience into sharper rules. A complete review system turns experience into upgrades. You do not truly know what you did in a trade until you watch yourself do it. Memory edits to protect comfort. Video does not. When you accept video truth and pair it with a simple evolution loop, you stop reliving the same day and start compounding insight. The core idea is simple. Record what you actually did. Review it while the emotions are still warm. Extract 1 change you will test tomorrow. Repeat at daily, weekly, and monthly rhythms until your rules and your reactions fit each other. Most traders miss that journaling alone captures the story they wish were true. The screen recording shows cursor hesitation, early exits, rule bends, and the exact second when fear or hope took the wheel. When you narrate decisions out loud during the session, you capture intent before outcome can rewrite it. That track of intent is the raw material you need for honest improvement. Run the protocol in plain steps spoken to yourself. Start every session with recording on and a short spoken plan. After the close, review only the moments that changed risk or state. Clip 1 minute that shows a good rule honored and 1 minute that shows a rule break. Write 3 short lines that name the trigger, the feeling, and the fix you will test on the very next session. Each Sunday, watch the week at 2 times speed. List your top leak in 1 sentence and upgrade 1 rule in your playbook. Each month, skim your weekly notes, confirm which leak actually shrank, and lock the winning rule into standard practice. Track this with measures you can say out loud. Sessions recorded this week.
Days you completed a same-day review. Number of rule upgrades tested this month and how many stayed. Average minutes between session end and review start. Count of unplanned exits per 10 trades and the trend over 4 weeks. These lines tell you if learning is visible. Picture a day where you cut a winner because a small pullback felt like danger. On review, you hear yourself say you will let the first pullback test the level. You watch your hand close early anyway. You feel the mismatch. You write the fix. Next session, you practice a breath anchor at the first pullback and you keep the plan. The clip proves the new behavior. Common failure is binge reviewing without changing one rule or hunting only for confirmation of strength. Keep it small and specific, one rule upgraded at a time. With review installed, we can reframe losses as tuition and turn pain into an asset. The wisdom of losses is simple. You learn almost everything you need from the trades that hurt if you keep them small and study them fast. A loss is not a verdict on your talent. It is a report on your process and your nervous system. When you treat a losing trade as tuition, you ask different questions. You stop asking why the market did this to you, and you start asking which part of your behavior created the opening. That shift turns pain into a teacher and protects your confidence without lying to you. Here is what most traders miss. They review losses like a prosecutor or like a cheerleader. In both cases, they distort the truth. The prosecutor turns every loss into a character flaw and kills risk-taking. The cheerleader blames randomness and protects ego. Neither produces a rule that will survive the next session. The way forward is a neutral lens. You name the exact trigger you acted on. You name the emotion that was present in your body. You name the story you told yourself at the moment of entry or exit. Then you write the smallest rule that would have prevented the specific error. Here is the protocol in plain speech. You build a loss archive that lives next to your playbook. After each session, you record every realized loss above a simple threshold, and you add one short entry for each. You write the market context, the planned rule, the actual behavior, the emotion you felt, and a 10-second pause rewrite of the moment you wish you had. You record one rule upgrade you will test tomorrow and the exact cue that will trigger it. Each Friday, you read the week's entries and circle the most common leak. You pick one fix for the next week and ignore the rest until that fix holds. You track this with measures you can say in a sentence. Percentage of losses that were inside plan versus avoidable. Average loss size as a fraction of your 1% risk cap. Number of consecutive sessions where you added a rule and kept it. Trend in avoidable losses over 4 weeks. If these numbers improve, your identity strengthens even if this week's profit is flat. Picture a day where you exit early because a small pullback feels like danger. The archive entry shows the same pattern last week. The fix you install is a breath anchor at the first pullback and a commitment to let the planned level test once. The next time the level holds, you stay in and the plan pays for the lesson. The next layer is biology, because many losing decisions begin in the body before they reach the screen. Biology sits under every trading decision you make. Your nervous system evolved to survive motion and threat in the wild, not to sit calmly while red and green bars move. When your body reads speed as danger, it prepares you to fight, flee, or freeze. Your pupils widen, your breath gets shallow, your hands tense on the mouse. If you act from that state, discipline becomes a wish. The market is not attacking you. Your body is doing its job. Your job is to work with it so your rules can run even when adrenaline rises. Here is the part most traders miss. They try to overpower their state with willpower. They promise to be calm, then wonder why the promise breaks at the open. State management is a skill that you train like any other. If you tag your state in real time and apply simple resets before you click, you reduce impulsive action and protect your plan. You are not aiming for perfect calm. You are aiming for a body that can tolerate uncertainty long enough for your checklist to lead. Here is the protocol in plain speech. Before the session, you scan your body and label your state as green, yellow, or red. Green means clear and steady. Yellow means activated but workable. Red means too charged to trade.
You prepare a 2-minute pre-trade ritual. You stand up, you breathe in a box pattern, you soften your gaze to peripheral vision, and you read your identity line out loud. During the session, before any order, you pause for one slow breath and tag your state again. If you are red, you do not enter.
If you are yellow, you cut size in half or you wait for the next clean trigger. After any exit, you run a 10-second reset with a breath and a posture check so the last trade doesn't bleed into the next one. You can track this with simple measures spoken in a sentence. Percentage of trades where you tagged state before entry. Number of red tags where you stood down. Average minutes from session start to first trade on days you felt yellow. Trend in unplanned clicks over 4 weeks as state tagging becomes consistent. These lines tell you if biology is becoming an ally. Picture a fast spike at the open. Your chest tightens and your fingers want to chase. You name yellow. You breathe once. You pass the first thrust. The pullback forms, your trigger appears, and you take the planned entry with 1% risk. The body settled enough for the plan to lead. Common failure is skipping the tag when action heats up. The fix is to tie tagging to the hand that reaches for the mouse. With state management in place, we can redefine profit as process and train the brain to celebrate what you control. Process is the profit, and money is just the scoreboard that updates whenever it wants. When you build a day around behaviors you can control, your brain learns to chase what is repeatable instead of chasing price. You stop feeling like a passenger strapped to the last candle, and you start feeling like an operator running a small set of levers. The more clearly you define those levers, the faster your results stop swinging with luck. That is what a process revolution means. You reward execution, not outcomes, and over time, outcomes follow. Most traders miss how quickly their motivation collapses when they use profit as the only judge. A random week of wins makes them sloppy. A random week of losses makes them desperate. The fix is to install a scorecard that pays you in confidence for behaviors you control today. When you grade setup quality, execution fidelity, emotional regulation, and extraction of lessons, you give your nervous system a reliable source of reward. You can have a red P&L and still have a green day because you did your job. Here is the protocol in plain speech. Before the session, you set 3 process goals that you can hit regardless of market outcome. For example, you will trade only documented plays. You will cap risk at 1% per idea, and you will conduct a same-day video review before the evening. You keep a simple card visible with 4 dials you will rate after the close. Setup quality from 0 to 10. Execution of entry and exit rules from 0 to 10. Emotional mastery from 0 to 10. Learning extraction from 0 to 10. During the session, you speak your rules out loud before each order to anchor behavior. After the close, you watch the key moments, you write one small upgrade to test tomorrow, and you rate the dials honestly. You store the day's card where you can see the last 10 sessions at a glance. You measure progress with words you can trust. Rolling average of your process score over 10 sessions. Percentage of trades that met every checklist item. Percentage of exits executed exactly as written. Number of daily reviews completed out of the last 10 days. Trend in unplanned clicks over 4 weeks. These lines tell you if the machine is getting smoother. Imagine a flat day where you passed on 3 marginal moves, took 1 clean entry, honored the stop, and ran the review. Your P&L shows a small loss. Your process score shows 80 out of 100. You feel like a pro because you were one. That feeling keeps you consistent long enough for edges to pay. With the scorecard in place, the next step is to train the mind itself so your rules hold under pressure, not just on calm days. Mental mastery means you train your mind the way an athlete trains under pressure so your rules hold when the screen gets loud. You are not trying to feel great. You are training the ability to notice the surge, pause on command, and choose the next right behavior. Confidence comes from repetitions of control, not from drama-free days. You can build that control with a few simple drills you run every morning, during entries and exits, and after stressful moments. Here is the part most traders miss. They read mindset tips and hope the advice will appear when needed. It will not. The brain follows grooves it has rehearsed. If you rehearse panic by chasing every spike, you will panic again. If you rehearse calm decisions with a clear sequence, your hands will find the sequence when it matters.
Mental edge is a practiced routine, not a quote. Here is the protocol spoken as if you were coaching yourself. In the morning, you close your eyes for 2 minutes and visualize the first clean setup of the day from context to exit. You feel a small pullback, and you watch yourself keep the plan. You hear your own voice speak the risk cap and the exit rule. Before each potential order, you run a breath anchor.
Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, pause for 2. You name your state, and you proceed only when you can speak the entry and the exit in one calm sentence. If your mind loops or your breath stays shallow, you pass and you reset. When a trade turns against you, you use a verbal circuit breaker. You say out loud, stop, breathe, check plan. You look at the rule. If the rule says exit, you exit without debate. After any emotionally heavy exit, you stand up, shake out your hands, take 3 breaths, and write one short line about what you did well. You measure the mind with simple lines you can track. Number of mornings you ran visualization this week. Count of times you used the breath anchor before clicking. Average seconds it took to return to baseline after a spike. Percentage of trades where you used the circuit breaker before a change to risk. Streak of days where you ran a short reset after a painful loss. These measures tell you if composure is becoming your default. Picture a fast flush into a level you planned. Your heart jumps. You breathe once, say the line, and take the planned entry with size already set. When price snaps back, you feel the surge to grab profit early. You repeat the line and let the rule lead you to the exit you wrote. The calm is not an accident. It is the result of practice. With composure now trainable, the next edge is survival, because most traders fail by quitting the game before their process has time to pay. Survival is an edge because most people leave the game before their process has time to pay.
They run hard for a few weeks, hit a drawdown, and decide the market is broken or they are. The truth is simpler. Progress in trading follows a messy curve. You learn, you wobble, you stabilize, and only then do results compound. If you design for staying power, you give your rules the months they need to mature into skill. Your goal is not constant winning. Your goal is to keep showing up with capital, clarity, and curiosity until the math of your behavior takes over. Here is the part most traders miss. Quitting is not a single decision. It is a slow erosion driven by shame, isolation, and vague standards for success. If you do not define what progress looks like beyond profit, your brain will call every red week failure and push you to chase or to stop. If you do not install recovery rules for rough patches, you will try to grind your way out of fatigue and make it worse. Survival is a system you build on purpose. Here is the protocol spoken plainly. You write anti-quit criteria on a single card. You will remain in the game while 3 conditions hold. Your maximum drawdown is within a limit you set. Your process score over the last 10 sessions stays above a threshold. Your rule break rate remains below a line you can accept. If any line is crossed, you do not quit. You shift into minimum viable trading for a fixed period. That means you cut risk to a fraction of normal. You take only the cleanest, documented setup, and you stop after 1 trade or 1 hour, whichever comes first. You schedule recovery like training. 2 nights this week, you step away from screens early, you sleep, and you move your body. You ask one survivor to meet for 15 minutes, and you show the truth of your week. You end each day by writing 1 sentence that names a behavior you kept, even if the P&L was red. You measure survival with simple lines you can read aloud. Days in a row you showed up and ran the process. Rolling average of your process score over 10 sessions. Number of minimum viable days completed when you were in a dip. Weeks where your rule break rate trended down. Drawdown contained within the line you set. These measures prove you are still in the arena. Picture a rough stretch, 3 small losers and a miss on a big move. You feel the pull to press. Instead, you shift to minimum viable for 3 days. You protect the account, you keep the habit, and you finish the week with energy to study. That is how careers survive. With survival secured, time starts to work for you, and experience begins to produce a dividend you can actually feel on the screen. Experience dividend means that time on the screen begins to pay you in a way new traders cannot see. With enough deliberate exposure, you start reading the human layer under price.
You notice when buyers are confident and when they are just leaning because a level is popular. You feel the difference between momentum that breathes and momentum that is brittle. None of this is magic. It is pattern memory plus honest review layered over thousands of small decisions. The chart has always carried these signals. Experience simply turns the volume up. Here is the idea most traders miss. Screen time alone does not create the dividend. Unstructured hours just reinforce random habits. What compounds is annotated exposure. When you mark what you expected, what you saw, and what you did, your brain builds a library of cause and effect that you can query in real time. You stop guessing and start recognizing. You act slower when liquidity is thin because your notes remember the slippage. You press a second unit only when the character of the move confirms, not when you feel left out. Here is a simple way to earn the dividend on purpose. Each session, you choose one market behavior to study, such as breakouts that hold or fail at the first pullback. You collect 3 examples in real time and write 1 short sentence on context, 1 on entry character, and 1 on how the move either expanded or stalled. After the close, you watch those clips and add 1 line about what your hands did at the key moment. You repeat this study focus for a full week so the pattern density increases. At the end of the week, you summarize the tells you trust, the traps you will avoid, and the rule you will test next week. You keep these summaries in a folder you can scan before the open. You track the dividend with measures you can say out loud. Number of focused studies completed this month. Percentage of sessions where you captured 3 live examples. Average time from the first valid signal to your entry compared with last month. Win rate and average excursion for trades taken inside your studied context versus outside it. These lines show whether recognition is sharpening. Imagine a morning where price pushes through a level that usually attracts chasers. You notice the tape is heavy, rotations are slow, and the first pullback forms above, not inside the level. Your notes say this behavior often holds.
You take the planned entry with 1% risk, and you let it work. If the tells were missing, you would have passed. Either way, you acted from recognition, not impulse. Common failure is changing the study every day and never letting density build. The fix is to stay with one behavior long enough for your eyes to learn its rhythm. From here, we widen the lens and explore the philosophy of risk that keeps your judgment clean when uncertainty is loud. Philosophy of risk means you stop treating uncertainty like a mistake to erase and start treating it like the environment you operate in. Markets are probabilistic. Any single trade can fail even when your read is strong. If you require certainty, you will squeeze the chart for what it cannot give, and you will keep paying tuition to the same lesson. When you accept that risk is the price of admission, you can size correctly, take clean losses without drama, and reserve your energy for execution. Here is what most traders miss. They say they accept risk, then they widen the stop the moment price moves against them. They say they are process-driven, then they double size after a win because it feels safe. The mind wants control, so it invents stories. A philosophy keeps you honest by stating in plain language how you meet the unknown. It defines what you protect first, which is your ability to trade tomorrow. It defines what you optimize, which is decision quality over fast profit. It defines what you tolerate, which is planned loss inside rules. Here is the protocol in everyday speech. You write 1 page called How I Relate to Risk. You state your purpose as mastering behavior under uncertainty. You commit to a maximum 1% risk per idea, and you agree not to stack overlapping exposure beyond a simple cap. You decide that any move of your stop must reduce risk, never increase it. You commit to exits that are written before entry and to honoring them even when hope protests. You define what a good loss is in your language. A good loss followed the plan and protected capital. You define what a bad win is. A bad win broke rules and cannot be repeated safely. After each session, you label every result as good loss, good win, bad loss, or bad win so your brain learns the right taste. You can measure philosophy by behavior. Over the last 10 trades, how many exits happened exactly where written? Over the last month, what percentage of losses were inside plan? Over the last 4 weeks, how many times did you move a stop to increase risk? These lines tell you whether your beliefs survive contact with the screen.
Picture a trade that tags your stop by 2 ticks and then runs to target without you. Old you moves the stop next time. New you keeps the risk rule and looks for the next setup. Your philosophy protects you from the seductive exception. With risk framed as your field of play, you can now put it all on a calendar and build a 90-day blueprint that turns these ideas into daily action. The implementation blueprint turns ideas into a schedule your hands can follow. 90 days is long enough to change habits and short enough to see the finish line. You move through foundation, evolution, and integration, each with a clear rhythm. In the foundation month, you make discipline visible. Each morning, you read your identity line. You review 1 playbook page, and you set 3 process goals you can hit regardless of outcome. Each session, you cap risk at 1% per idea. You tag your state before every order, and you speak your exit plan out loud. After the close, you record a short review clip that shows 1 rule kept and 1 rule bent. You end the day by rating setup quality, execution, emotional control, and learning extraction on a simple 10-point scale. The win for this month is not profit. It is proof that you can run the loop without skipping steps. In the evolution month, you tighten the loop. You choose 1 leak to shrink, and you design a single rule upgrade to test for 2 weeks. You continue the morning rehearsal and the state tag, but now you add a deliberate study. You collect 3 live examples each day of the behavior you are learning. You annotate them in 1 sentence each, and you watch them at speed after the close. You compare trades taken inside your documented context with trades taken outside. You aim to reduce unplanned clicks and to increase the percentage of trades that met every checklist item. You meet your partner once a week, and you submit a 5-minute highlight reel with the change you are testing and the early results. In the integration month, you lock gains into identity. You keep the morning and evening rhythm, but you compress activity to your highest quality window and your cleanest setup. You practice minimum viable trading for consistency. 1 setup, 1 unit, 1 hour if needed. You let boredom be a sign that rules are holding.
You focus on the feel of steady execution and the confidence that comes from honoring exits exactly as written. At the end of each week, you write a short page called "What Changed in Me?" You name the specific behaviors that now feel normal and the ones that still wobble. You measure the blueprint with simple lines: rolling process score over 10 sessions, rule break rate per 10 trades, percentage of sessions with same-day video review, percentage of trades with state tagged before entry, drawdown contained within your line. If these move in the right direction, the system is working. Now that the blueprint is on the calendar, we close with the truth that keeps you steady when results lag behind behavior. Here is the final truth. Mastery is not a destination you reach and keep. It is a way you behave when the screen is noisy and your feelings are loud. You will not conquer the market. You will practice conquering yourself. Each day you define 1 good trade, cap risk at 1%, tag your state, speak your exit, and record what you actually did. You score the process, upgrade 1 rule, and come back tomorrow. When you slip, you reset without drama and return to character. Over months, the loop becomes who you are. Your account stays safe, your mind stays clear, and you gain the quiet pride of doing professional work. That is enough, and it compounds.